The American dream is at risk. For decades, the American dream has been defined by a stable job, a steady income, and ultimately, homeownership. But that dream is slipping further out of reach for millions of Americans. While wages have grown modestly, home prices have skyrocketed. In this video, we break down the real data behind the widening gap between wage growth and housing costs in 2025. We will explore how this imbalance developed, what economic forces are driving it, and what it means for both individuals and the broader US economy. Welcome to Matrix Capital. Let's dive in. Let's start with the numbers. According to US Bureau of Labor Statistics, average hourly wages in the US have grown by roughly 4.5% year over year as of early 2025. That sounds decent, right? But compare that to housing prices. The S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Home Price Index shows an average annual increase of over 7% nationally, nearly double the rate of wage growth. In certain metro areas, especially in the South and West, that growth exceeds 10%. And for the first-time buyers in cities like Austin, Phoenix, or Miami, homeownership has moved from challenging to virtually impossible. So even though people are earning more on paper, their purchasing power in the housing market is shrinking fast. Now let's layer in inflation. While wage growth is outpacing some inflation categories, real wages, meaning inflation-adjusted income, haven't kept up. Americans might be seeing slightly higher paychecks, but they're also facing increased prices for groceries, gas, healthcare, and utilities. Housing, of course, is the biggest line item in most household budgets. And it's not just the cost of buying a home, it's also rent, which has risen dramatically in cities and even many suburban areas. According to Zillow, rents have increased more than 6% nationally year over year, and far more in high-demand urban centers. So when your income is rising at 4.5%, but everything else is rising at 6 to 10%, your budget gets squeezed. And housing is often the first thing people cut out of their plans. There are several structural reasons home prices continue to rise more quickly than wages. First, supply constraints. The US has a long-standing shortage of housing units, particularly affordable ones. The National Association of Realtors estimates we are short by about 5.5 million homes. Builders are struggling to catch up due to labor shortages, land costs, and restrictive zoning laws. According to the estimate, if we have 5.5 million more homes in the United States, most families will be able to afford a home. Second, investor activity. Large institutional investors have been snapping up single-family homes, especially in fast-growing areas. This reduces inventory available for regular buyers and drives prices even higher. I know, it is disgusting. Home is necessary for everyone. It should not be manipulated by the investors. Third, interest rate manipulation. The ultra-low mortgage rates of the early 2020s created artificial demand, encouraging buyers to flood the market. Even though the Federal Reserve has since raised rates, limited inventory continues to support high home prices. When the interest rates are this high, affording a home becomes a dream for most Americans. So why aren't wages rising fast enough to keep up? The answer lies in labor market dynamics and globalization. Many sectors experiencing job growth, like hospitality, food services, and retail, offer lower pay. Meanwhile, higher paying sectors like tech and finance have seen layoffs or stagnation. In short, the jobs being created don't necessarily pay enough to support the purchase of a home. There's also a structural shift in employment. Remote work has enabled companies to tap into lower cost labor markets, including international workers. While this may boost productivity, it also suppresses wage growth for US based employees, especially in white collar fields, and union influence, which once helped secure higher wages for middle class workers, has declined dramatically over the past 3 decades. You can't talk about this without mentioning the Federal Reserve. When the Fed raises interest rates to fight inflation, it indirectly cools the housing market by increasing mortgage rates. But this also raises borrowing costs for businesses, which may respond by cutting jobs or holding back on wage increases. It's a catch-22. High inflation forces Fed to act, but the action slows down wage growth and does little to reverse existing housing inflation, especially when supply remains tight. There's also a fiscal policy angle. While programs like down payment assistance and first-time buyer credits exist, they often can't keep up with the rate at which prices are rising. The underlying structural issues, supply, wages, investor dominance, remain largely unaddressed. The affordability crisis isn't distributed equally across the country. In expensive coastal cities like San Francisco and New York, middle-income earners have long been priced out. But in 2025, that problem has spread to previously affordable metros. Think Charlotte, Nashville, and Boise. As people migrate in search of affordable living, they drive up housing prices in new regions, making them unaffordable in turn. This creates a ripple effect, pushing long-term residents out and reshaping entire communities. At the same time, job opportunities often remain clustered in higher cost areas, forcing workers to choose between lower wages or unbearable commutes. For millennials and Gen Z, the gap between income and home prices is more than just frustrating. It's potentially generationally defining. Homeownership has long been a primary way to build wealth in America. Without access to it, younger generation may fall further behind financially, widening the wealth gap that already exists. This affordability challenge is also changing consumer behavior. More young adults are renting longer, living with parents, or co-buying homes with friends or family, while creative solutions, they're ultimately stopgaps. Until wages and housing prices are better aligned, the average first-time buyer faces an uphill battle, a battle they don't know how long they're gonna fight for. So where does this go? Some economists believe housing price growth will slow or even decline slightly if interest rates remain high. But unless wages experience a structural increase, driven by productivity gains, policy changes, or labor market shifts, the gap isn't going away. Possible solutions include building more affordable housing through zoning reform, raising minimum wages or strengthening collective bargaining, implementing tax incentives for first-time homebuyers, regulating investor purchases in key markets, or maybe banning them. But all of these require political will and time. And it's fair to say we haven't seen much help from the political side. The disconnect between wage growth and home prices isn't just an economic issue. It's a social one. It affects family formation, financial mobility, and long-term economic stability. Understanding these dynamics is the first step to creating smarter policies and smarter personal decisions. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more data-driven insights into the US economy and housing market. And let us know in the comments, do you think homeownership is still realistic for average American in 2025? Or do you think is renting better? Let us know.